والمرسلين وحبيبنا وحبيب رب العالمين أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين من أول يوم ظلمهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المبين وقوله الحق: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبحان الذي أسرى بعبده ليلا من المسجد الحرام إلى المسجد الأقصى الذي باركنا حوله لنريه من آياتنا إنه هو السميع البصير. صدق الله العلي العظيم. First of our salawat in honor of Amir al-Mu'mineen and Sayyidat al-Nisa al-Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. The second of our salawat in honor of the masters of the youth of paradise, Hassan and Hussein alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala. And finally, with the loudest of your voices, please, the last of our salawat in honor of the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman alayhi salam. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. One of the major events that occurred in the lifetime of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the Quran itself testifies to is the Miraj, or the ascension of the Holy Prophet. This event, it happened 1400 years ago, but even today people have questions about it. When you look at this event in its context, today people say they question whether this event happened literally. Some people within Islam, people outside of Islam, some people, they look at this event and they say it's not possible for this event to happen. When you look within Islam, the majority of Muslims, they say what? That this event was not a literal event that happened. This event was a spiritual event that happened. Some scholars themselves, they go as far as interpreting the Miraj to be something figurative and not literal. And when you look and you ask or you talk to the youngsters, they'll say or they'll deny this event happening literally. Why? Because the obvious disregard for the laws of physics and biology. If you tell them that the Holy Prophet, he ascended to the skies, they'll tell you that's not possible. How can a person ascend to the skies? How can a person go into space? What about the laws of physics? What about the laws of biology? When you think about it from that perspective, then you start questioning, you know what? This event, it might have never happened. So what did they say? They say that because of this disregard for the laws of physics and biology, it's not possible for this event to happen. But this lecture that I want to focus on tonight, I want to analyze the events of Miraj, talk about what the Holy Prophet himself said happened in Miraj, and find out at the end whether or not this event could be possible or is it impossible. We'll look at it not just from a philosophical point of view, but we'll also look at it from a scientific point of view and try to prove from scientifically this event itself is possible. But to begin with, there's a lot of questions that are put forth about the Miraj. Some people, they ask, what was the reason for the Miraj? Others, they ask, why did the Holy Prophet, he go to Miraj? How many times did the Holy Prophet go to Miraj? How can you say that the Holy Prophet went on Miraj when we look at the laws of physics and we look at the laws of biology? When all of these questions are put forth, then it becomes necessary for us that believe that the Miraj was a literal event to happen. It becomes necessary that we defend this belief of ours. So to begin with, when we talk about the Miraj, there's two historians who have talked about the Miraj in their history books, Ibn Ishaq and Ibn Hisham. Both of these historians, they both say that the Miraj of the Holy Prophet, it happened 10 years after the proclamation of prophethood. 10 years after the proclamation. There are other historians that say no, the Miraj happened 12 years after the proclamation. And there are other historians that say that it happened between the 10th and the 12th years. Someone might ask, when an event like this happened, which will be remembered until the Day of Judgment, how can there be so many discrepancies in the dates? Someone is saying 10 years, someone is saying 12 years, others are saying between the 10th and the 12th. Why are there so many different dates? Because when you look at hadith, there's a hadith from Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. There's a hadith from Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam in Basar al-Darajat, volume number 10. Imam, he says that the Holy Prophet did not go on Miraj one time. The Holy Prophet, in his lifetime, he went on Miraj 120 times. So when he went to Miraj 120 times, then it's possible that he went 10 years after Hijri. It's possible that he went after 12 years after Hijri. Yes or no? Yes. It's not necessary that he only went one time. But the Imam himself, when he describes this Miraj, he says what happened on the night of that nightly journey. He says that Jibreel, he came down with Mikail, he came down with Israfil, and they came down with the horse that the Holy Prophet was supposed to ride on. The name of the horse, Buraq. Imam, he says that Jibreel, one of them, they held on to the stirrup. Another was holding on, or another was evening the robes of the Holy Prophet, and another was helping the Holy Prophet get up on this Buraq. And the Holy Prophet, when he sees this, he asks Jibreel, what is this? And Jibreel, he answers, Ya Rasulullah, this is an animal that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had created 1,000 years ago only and only for this event. He created this animal 1,000 years ago. And the Holy Prophet, he asked, Ya Rasulullah, what is the traveling of this animal? Or he asked Jibreel, how fast does this animal travel? And Jibreel, he replies, Ya Rasulullah, if you so desire, this animal can travel the distance of 7,000 years in the blink of an eye. The distance of 7,000 years in the blink of an eye, if you so desire. Brothers and sisters, if you think about just this, think about what wilaya really is. In the Quran, there is an event where a successor of a prophet brings the throne of Bilqis in the twinkling of an eye. Yes or no? Yes. How far was the throne of Bilqis? 200, 300 miles. Whatever the distance was, it was bound to what? Bound to earth, was it not? Yes. They say that what? The successor of Prophet Sulaiman, he had knowledge of what? A little bit of the book. With that little knowledge, he was able to bring the throne of Bilqis 200, 300 miles. This is the Holy Prophet who has complete knowledge of the book. He can ride this horse how far? The distance of 7,000, or the distance of 7,000 years in that same span. How long did it take to blink? Do you guys know? A third of a second. In a third of a second, the Holy Prophet can travel on Buraq the distance of 7,000 miles. And in that third of a second, this successor of the Holy Prophet is bringing the throne of Bilqis 200 miles. This is the difference in the wilayat that the prophets had. Inshallah, one of these days, maybe I might do a lecture on what wilayat truly is. Wilayat al-Takwiniyya and wilayat al-Kulliyya. But we're talking about Miraj here. The Holy Prophet, he says that Buraq, it became restless. When it became restless, Jibreel, he calmed it down and he says, oh Buraq, calm down. No one has ever ridden you and no one will ever ride you after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just calm down. As soon as it became calm, that's when Buraq and the Holy Prophet, they started their journey. Where were they? Anyone know? They were where? This was in Mecca. Like I said, the Holy Prophet, he went on Miraj over 120 times. Okay? But the time that the prayers became wajib, the 5 daily prayers, they became wajib when? When the Holy Prophet went on Miraj. That's when they became wajib. The historians, they say that that Miraj happened when? The 10th year after proclamation. That Miraj happened right after Hazrat Abu Talib had passed away. And Hazrat Abu Talib passed away 10 years after proclamation of prophethood. So what happens? Buraq, it takes off. From where? From Mecca. Where is the first place it goes? They go to Medina. They go to Medina. The Holy Prophet, he prays 2 units of prayers. Then from there, this whole story of Miraj and what happens, this I'm copying this from where? From Tafsir Burhan by Sayyid Hashim Bahrani. So it's a tafsir of Quran. He has the whole event. He himself says that the narration states what? That from Mecca they went to Medina. The Holy Prophet, he prayed 2 units of prayer. From Medina, where did they go? They go to Mount Tur. What happened in Mount Tur? That's where Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, he spoke to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They pray 2 units of prayer there. From there, they go where? They go to Bethlehem. What happened in Bethlehem? Hazrat Isa alayhi salam was born in Bethlehem. They pray 2 rakat prayer there. And then from there, they go to Masjid al-Aqsa, and the Holy Prophet, he prays there. That was the journey from Mecca to Masjid al-Aqsa. The first part of Miraj. Now what's happening? The second part is coming. In this second part, the Holy Prophet, he himself says that after the prayers were done, we go up towards the heavens. And while we were going, what happens? He says that while I was going, I see that a caller calls out from my right side. And this caller, he says, Ya Muhammad. I didn't pay attention to him, nor did I look at him. I ignored him. Then we went further, and a caller called out from my left side, and this caller said, Ya Muhammad. I didn't look at this caller either, nor did I pay attention to him. And then we went even further. When we went further, what happened? There was a woman who appeared in front of me, and she had all the adornments of the world on her, and she said, Ya Muhammad, look at me until I speak to you. And the Holy Prophet, he says, I didn't look at her, nor did I speak to her. And we kept going. And when we kept going, what happens? He says that then a chill ran down my spine. And I ignored that chill. When I ignored all of these, Jibreel, he asked, Ya Rasulullah, what did you see? Rasulullah, he goes, Jibreel, there was a caller that called out from my right side. What did he say, Jibreel? He said, Ya Muhammad, speak to me. The Holy Prophet, he says, Ya Jibreel, this is what he said. Jibreel, he says, Ya Rasulullah, you should speak. And the Holy Prophet says, no, neither did I speak to him, nor did I look at him. And the Holy Prophet, he says, Jibreel, who was that? Jibreel, he says, Ya Rasulullah, that was a Jewish caller. If you had spoken to him and if you had looked at him, your ummah would have turned into Jews after you pass away. What else did you see, Ya Rasulullah? The Holy Prophet, then he says, Ya Jibreel, from my right side, there was another caller. The first was from my left, then from my right side, there was another caller. He says the same thing. And Jibreel asked, did you talk to him? Did you speak to him? Did you answer him? The Holy Prophet, he goes, no, I didn't. Jibreel, who was that? Ya Rasulullah, that was a Christian caller. If you had looked at him, if you had spoken to him, then your ummah would have turned into Christians after you had passed away. And then what did you see? And then the Holy Prophet, he says, Jibreel, then I saw a woman that appeared in front of me and she said, Ya Muhammad, look at me and speak to me. And Jibreel goes, did you speak to her? And he goes, no. Spoken to her, then your ummah would have left the afterlife and they would have preferred this life. They would have preferred this life. And then what happened? Then the Holy Prophet goes, Jibreel, then I heard a noise, and because of that noise, there was a chill that ran down my spine. What was that noise? Jibreel, he says, Ya Rasulullah, that was a rock that was tossed down from the brink of hell 70 years ago, and it just now hit the bottom of hell. 70 years ago. And now it's hitting the bottom. That's what that was. And then the Holy Prophet, he says, after Jibril told me all this, we went on our journey. We went past the first sky. What did we see here? In the first sky, the Holy Prophet, he says that I saw the angels, and one of the angels, his name was Malik, and he was what? The gatekeeper of hell. I conversed with him, then we moved on. Then when we moved on, I saw an angel so big that the world was between his knees. The whole world was between his knees, and all he was doing was looking at a table, and he was just focused on it. He wasn't looking here, he wasn't looking there. He was completely focused on that table. So I asked Jibril, who was that? Jibril, he says, Ya Rasulullah, that's Mikail. He's engrossed in what? Taking the souls. That's why he's not looking here, nor is he looking there. Israel. He's not looking here, he's not looking there. All he is focused on the souls and the tablet that's in front of him. Then after that, the Holy Prophet, he goes forward. I know some people might have questions. Inshallah, maybe one day I'll answer them. Like, how does the Holy Prophet not know but Jibril know? These are good questions. Inshallah, one day I'll answer them. But the Holy Prophet, he says, we went further. We go further, we meet Prophet Adam alayhi salam. We go further to the skies, we meet Prophet Isa alayhi salam. We go further, we meet Prophet Ibrahim. We go further, we meet Prophet Isa. We meet Prophet Yahya. We meet Prophet Yusuf. We go further, we meet Prophet Musa alayhi salam. We meet all the prophets. And then there came a time where we got to where Sidrat al-Muntaha, the low tree. When we got to this place, Jibril, he says to me, Ya Rasulullah, no one has ever gone past this point. No one before you has ever gone past this point. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you that you go past this point. If I was to take another step from here, my wings would burn. My wings would burn. This is the status of the Holy Prophet. No prophet before Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had gone to that point. No prophet sallallahu alaihi Muhammad. The Holy Prophet, when he goes past the low tree, he gets to where? He gets to Maqam Qaba Qawsayn. The two bows lengths, it's in the Quran. When the Holy Prophet reaches the two bows lengths or closer. When he gets to this point, Alhamdulillah, I'm in front of mu'mineen, and I'm not going to be shy in reciting or bringing hadiths that are pertinent to the mu'mineen. Sayyid Hashim Bahrani, in the tafsir of this surah, specifically of the events of Miraj, he says, when the Holy Prophet, he went up, there's hadith from Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, he says that when the Holy Prophet, he went up past Sidrat al-Muntaha to Maqam Qaba Qawsayn, he says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he talks to the Holy Prophet and he asks him, "O my Prophet, who is the most beloved to you?" And the Holy Prophet, he replies, "Ya Allah, the most beloved to me is Ali ibn Abi Talib." When he says this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he tells him to turn around. And when he looks over, the Holy Prophet saying, when I looked over my right side, I saw Ali ibn Abi Talib behind me. One. Two, the Holy Prophet, he says, when I got to Maqam Qaba Qawsayn, I see that there was an enclosure of pearls. And in this enclosure, there was a bed made out of gold. And on this bed, there was an image. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he asked me, "O my Prophet, do you know who that is?" And Rasulullah, he says, "Ya Allah, that's Ali ibn Abi Talib." That's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells the Prophet, yes, that's Ali ibn Abi Talib, make him marry your daughter and he will be your vizier after you. He will be your vizier after you. 2. 3. In Shaykh Mufid's Amali, there's a narration where the Holy Prophet, he himself says that when I got to that part of Qaba Qawsayn, I spoke to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He told me secrets that He didn't want anyone else to know. And then when I was coming back, I met whom? I met Hazrat Musa. If you want to know who we should thank for the 5 daily prayers that we have today, is Nabiullah Musa. Why is that? Because the Holy Prophet, he says that when I was coming back, I ran into Nabiullah Musa. And Nabiullah Musa, he asked, Ya Rasulullah, what happened up there? And Nabiullah Musa had never gone past that point. No one had gone past that point except the Holy Prophet. So the Holy Prophet, all he tells them is, Ya Musa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He made mandatory on me and my ummah 50 daily prayers. 50 daily prayers. And Nabiullah Musa, he goes, Ya Rasulullah, go back to your Lord. Why? Because your ummah will not be able to tolerate this. So the Holy Prophet, he goes back. When he goes back, then he comes back. When he comes back, he meets Nabiullah Musa again. And Nabiullah Musa, he asked, Ya Rasulullah, what happened? And the Holy Prophet, he tells him, Ya Musa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He decreased the number of prayers to what? To 30. To 30. Not 17 units. This isn't units. This isn't units. This is prayers. We pray how many times a day? 5 times a day. The first time the Holy Prophet went, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him 50 times a day. Then it got reduced to 40 times. Then he goes again. It gets reduced to 30 times. When it gets reduced to 30 times, this keeps happening. Then finally the Holy Prophet, he goes, he gets it reduced to 10, and then he goes again, he gets it reduced to 5. He gets it reduced to 5. When he gets it reduced to 5, he comes back to Nabiullah Musa. Nabiullah Musa, he says, Ya Rasulullah, what happened now? He said, Ya Musa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's reduced it to 5. And Nabiullah Musa, he looks at the Holy Prophet, he says, Ya Rasulullah, your ummah will not be able to tolerate this. And if you think about it, how difficult is it? But what does the Holy Prophet do? The Holy Prophet, he says, Ya Musa, I'm ashamed to go back to my Lord. He reduced it from 50 to 5. Now I'm ashamed to go back to my Lord. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hears these words of the Holy Prophet, He says, Ya Muhammad, the 5 prayers that you and your ummah do will be equivalent to the 50 prayers that the previous ummahs had to do. Would be equivalent to the 50 prayers that the previous ummah they had to do. This is one of the things that happened in Miraj. Now another question that is asked is, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take the Holy Prophet to Miraj? And this question is important. And the answer to this question is important. Why? Because a lot of the Muslims, they believe that the Holy Prophet went on Miraj to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The majority of Muslims, that's what they believe, that the Holy Prophet went on Miraj to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when you just analyze the verses of the Quran, or you just think about it, do we not say as Muslims that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is everywhere? If He's everywhere, then what's the need of the Holy Prophet to go up to the skies? 1. 2. If you say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala went up to the skies or went to Miraj to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, What does that mean that you've done to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You've given him a physical body. Once you give him a physical body, then that's a constraint. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above all types of constraints. He's above all types of constraints. He has no body. We see anything with some type of body, whether it be light, whether it be this door, whether it be a book. It has boundaries. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beyond boundaries. As soon as you put him in a boundary, then he ceases to be Allah. If you just think about it from an aqli point of view, But no, if you don't want to use aql, no problem. If you say that the Quran is enough. If you say that the Quran is enough, then the Quran itself tells us why the Holy Prophet went to Miraj. The verse that I started this lecture off with, it talks about the Miraj. Subhanallazi asra'a bi'abdihi laylan min al-masjid al-haram ila al-masjid al-aqsa barakna hawlahu li nuriyahu min ayatina. When you look at this verse, glory be to him who made his servant to go or travel on a night from the sacred mosque to the most remote mosque. Why? Why did he do it? So that we may show him some of our signs. If the reason for the Miraj was to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not have said so that we may show him some of our signs. This means what? This means that Allah is something different. His signs are something different. And it's his signs that he wanted to show the Holy Prophet. From the verse itself. But what were these signs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to show the Holy Prophet? Was it heaven? Was it hell? Was it the angels? Were these the signs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to show the Holy Prophet? If you say, you look at hadith, you see them, they say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed the Holy Prophet his greatest signs. If you say that the angels were Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's greatest signs, then you have to remember that it was these same angels that bowed down to Prophet Adam alayhi salam. So relative to the angels, Prophet Adam alayhi salam is a greater sign. So what were these great signs that the Holy Prophet was being shown? This is the same question that was put forth to the Holy Prophet himself. When one of the companions asked him, Ya Rasulullah, who were those Aleen, who were those Illiyin who did not have to bow down to Shaitan? Who were those? This is from the Quran. Qala ya Iblis, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, Ya Iblis, what prevented you from doing sajda to that which I created with my own two hands? Are you of the proud ones or are you of the Illiyin? When the companion of the Holy Prophet asked, Ya Rasulullah, who were these Illiyin that did not have to bow down to Shaitan? The Holy Prophet, he replies that they were Fatima, Hassan, Hussein, myself and Ali. These were the Illiyin. We were those Illiyin that did not need to bow down. And in regards to this itself, the Holy Prophet, he says that when I went to Miraj, I saw on the Arish that it said what? It said, I'm Allah, there's no one but me. Muhammad is the one that I love and I help him through his vizier and his brother Ali. So when you and I, we say, Ya Ali Madad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that I help through Ali. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is helping everyone through Ali, then what's wrong with saying Ya Ali Madad? What's wrong with it? It's through him that we get our help. The Holy Prophet was helped by Ali alayhi salam. And people question, why do we say this is shirk? You're going to teach me what shirk is, or is the Holy Prophet going to teach me what shirk is? If it was shirk, why would the Holy Prophet do it? If it was shirk, why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying himself that he sent Ali alayhi salam to help the Holy Prophet? Why doesn't he do it? Why? That's because whether or not he does it or he sends someone in his place, it's the same thing. What do I mean, brothers and sisters? For example, a king. If a king sends his vizier to do a task for him, and the vizier gets it done, is it not the same as the king getting it done? It's just like that. When we say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the king of kings, then if he sends Imam Ali alayhi salam to get something done, what's the difference? If he sends Imam Hussein alayhi salam to get something done, what's the difference? At the end of the day, it's still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The problem is that people don't understand what shirk is. People don't understand what kufr is. They have their own idea, and that idea has been implemented so deep in their brain, that's it. Even if the Prophet was to tell them this isn't kufr, no, they wouldn't listen. They wouldn't listen. They wouldn't listen. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And the Holy Prophet, he says that when I was up there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he told me, Ya Muhammad, ask all of these prophets why they were given the maqams that they were given. Ask them what the reason is. Ask Nabiullah Adam, Ya Adam, what's the reason that you have the maqam that you have? What's the reason that you have the station that you have? Ya Ibrahim, what's the reason that you have that station that you have? Ya Musa, what's the reason that you have that station that you have? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he told the Holy Prophet to ask him all of this. And when he did, the prophets, they replied, Ya Rasulullah, we have been given this station. Why? Based on the love for you and Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. When you look at the tafsir of these verses, you see that the quicker they answered Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of the love of these five personalities, the higher their stations were. The higher their stations were. Tafsir Burhan, this is from Sayyid Hashim Bakhrani. And the Holy Prophet, when he says, or he hears this from the other prophets, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, Ya Muhammad, look this way. And the Holy Prophet, he says, I look to my right, and what do I see? I see everyone from Ali, Fatima, Hassan, Hussein, all the way to the last Mahdi. What are they doing? They're all praying in a sea of light. They're all praying in a sea of light. And people, they say that they're like us. The Masumeen, they're not like us. They might look like us, but they're not like us. The reality is something completely different. This is the reason Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says, don't try to delve too much into what I am. Why? What will happen? You will ruin yourself. You will ruin yourself. When we cannot even understand a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, truly, how can you and I understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? All of us, we believe Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam was a servant of Allah. None of us take him for God. But when you and I cannot even understand the reality of Imam Ali alayhi salam, how can we understand the reality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We can't. When we can't understand the reality of the other Masumeen, how can we understand the reality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No, we can't. But the Holy Prophet, he says that when I came back from my Miraj, All of this happened what? In one night. The Holy Prophet, he says himself that when I came back from Miraj, in the morning, I told the Quraysh about it. I told them how at night I was taken to Medina, then I went to Mount Tur, then I went to Bethlehem, then I went to Masjid al-Aqsa, and then from there I went to the heavens. I saw the torments that were happening in hell. I saw the bounties that were being given in heaven. I saw all of that. When he says this to the Quraysh, what did the Quraysh say? Did they accept him as a prophet? No. The Quraysh, the leaders of the Quraysh were whom? Abu Sufyan. What did they say? They say, Ya Muhammad, lies on top of lies. These same people that called him Sadiq al-Amin just a couple of days ago are now calling him what? A Qazib. But what did they say? They say, Ya Muhammad, lies on top of lies. You just want us to believe what you want. You want us to let go of what our forefathers were believing in. Meaning what? Meaning you want us to believe in monotheism. And you want to let us, or you want to make us leave polytheism. This is what happens when you become very proud. There's a reason that pride is considered to be a sin. This same pride was the pride that Shaitan had. This same pride was the pride that Abu Sufyan had. When the Holy Prophet, he tells him, no, I went on this journey. Then what does Abu Sufyan say? He says, okay, you went on this journey. We know that you've never been to Damascus, but we have people in Damascus right now. Damascus is not Syria, current Syria. 1400 years ago, Damascus was huge. Damascus covered what's currently Syria. Damascus covered Jordan. Damascus covered Lebanon. Damascus covered Palestine. Damascus covered Israel. It covered all of this land. The Holy Prophet, he says, I saw all of this. And they tell him that we know that you've never been to Damascus, but we currently have people in Damascus. Tell us what you saw. And he tells Abu Sufyan, he looks at Abu Sufyan, he goes, Abu Sufyan, you have people in Damascus. They're tajirs, they're merchants. How many camels do you have? You have 28 camels. And in front of those camels, two of your sons, Fulan and Fulan, are riding on those camels. They'll be here at this day, they'll be here at this specific time. So Abu Sufyan, he says, okay, you told us how Damascus looks. You told us that the camels or the caravan, that's my caravan, has this many camels and it's got this many people and they will arrive at this day. Fine. If nothing that you say corresponds to what happens, then we know that you're a liar. We know that you're a liar. But if what you say happens to be true, this is who speaking? Abu Sufyan lanatullah alayhi. He says, if what you say happens to be true, then we'll believe you. We'll believe you. So when the day arrives, Abu Sufyan, he goes out and he asks them. He asks his sons and they say, this is how it looks. This is exactly what happened. So when they come back to the city, the Holy Prophet, he looks at Abu Sufyan and he asks him, what will you do now? Everything I told you was true. So what will you do now? You said in front of everyone that if what I say comes to pass, that I'm a prophet and you believe in me. And does Abu Sufyan believe in him? No. He doesn't. Instead, what does he say? He says, Ya Muhammad, we know that you're a liar and you're being helped by Shaitan. You're being helped by the devils. He goes on to say, even if we were to see the angels descend upon you, we would still not believe in you as a prophet. This is what pride does to you. This is what pride does to you. And when you think about it, what happened with Abu Sufyan? The majority of Muslims, they say that he turned Muslims, yes or no? The majority of Muslims, they say that he became Muslim. When the Holy Prophet, he conquered Mecca, the majority of Muslims, they say that he became Muslim. The majority of Muslims, they say he became Muslim. We say no. He hid shirk, he hid kufr within himself. Even if you look at it from that perspective, someone that was that proud, he himself had to, at the very least, say, even if he didn't truly believe, he had to show to the people what? That he had become a Muslim. He had become a Muslim. But the question is asked, well, Sayyidina, if the Miraj was a literal event that happened, is there anything from the Quran which will tell us that no, the Miraj was a literal event? It wasn't something figurative. It wasn't an allegory. Some of the Sufis, they say it was an allegory. Or it wasn't spiritual. It wasn't a dream. What proof do we have that the Holy Prophet went on this ascension physically with his body? What proof do we have? If you say that the Quran is enough, then let's go to the Quran itself. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in the Quran? Subhanallazi asra'a bi abdihi. Correct? What does abd mean? Abd, it means servant. Servitude means that this person, from his body and his spirit, he is a servant. Not just spiritually, but also bodily. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Subhanallazi asra'a bi abdihi, glory be to him who made his servant go on this ascension. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could have said what? Instead of using the word abd to make everything crystal clear that this was not a physical ascension, this was just a spiritual ascension, he could have put in the word ruh. Subhanallazi asra'a bi ruhi abdihi. Glory be to him who took his servant's soul on this ascension. It would have been completely crystal clear that this was just a spiritual one. But no, the word abd itself denotes that this ascension was not just spiritual, but it was also bodily. It was also physical. But now we come to the problem. Sayyidina, the Quran, okay, you prove from the Quran that it was a physical ascension. But what about the disregard for the laws of physics? What about the disregard for the laws of biology? It can't be possible. It can't be possible. But brothers and sisters, you have to remember that possibility, it has three forms. One is practical possibility. Two is scientific possibility. And three is logical or philosophical possibility. What do I mean by practical possibility? Practical possibility is meant that a thing should be possible for anyone to carry out, for everyone to carry out. Practical. This thing isn't practical. It's not practical to fit 50 people on his. That's what practical possibility is. Practical possibility means that it should be able to be carried out by anyone. Meaning what? For example, traveling long distances. At one point in time, it wasn't practically possible, but now it's become Practically possible. Going to the depths of the ocean. At one point in time, it wasn't practically possible. But now it's practically possible. This is practical possibility. By scientific possibility, it means that things which may not be practically possible now, but with the advancement of science, they can be possible. What do I mean? For example, going to Venus, going to different galaxies. Is this scientifically impossible? No. Why? Because scientifically we've already gone to the moon. What's the difference from going to the moon and going to a far off galaxy? What's the difference? The only difference is what? The amount of distance to be traveled. That's it. If we can find a way to travel that distance, then it's not scientifically impossible. Science does not say that we can't travel to Venus. Science does not say that we can't travel to a different galaxy. All it says is that we do not have the tools currently to do that. That's it. Third, which possibility? Third was logical or philosophical possibility. And this is where the problem arises. A lot of people, they look at it from this perspective, but they don't understand what this means, and they say that it's not possible. Logically, it's not possible. But what is logical possibility? What is logical impossibility? If something is impossible logical, what is it? For example, it's a contradiction. For example, existing and not existing at the same time, from the same perspective. Sayyid Tayyib cannot exist and not exist at the same time. I either exist or I don't. From one perspective. Another logical, what we mean by logical impossibility is what? 2 + 2 equaling 5. Can 2 + 2 ever equal 5? No. Why? Because if 2 + 2 ever equal 5, before we even know anything, we know that 2 is an even number. If we say that 2 + 2 could equal 5, that would mean that 2 at one and the same time would be an even number, and it would be an odd number. And that's a contradiction. That's a contradiction. Any contradiction, anything that is logically impossible, or anything that has a logical contradiction, that is what is impossible. But tell me, traveling long off distances, is that logically impossible? No. Why? Because there's no contradiction in it. Traveling long off distances, is that scientifically impossible? No. Science says we just don't have the means. So what are we left with? We're left with practical possibility. But something that's practically impossible doesn't mean that it's impossible for everyone. It might be impossible for you and me, but that's not, something might be impossible for me, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's impossible for you. When we look at the Miraj, you say, or they say, going to space. What about going to space? You can't breathe, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, aren't the astronauts doing all of that with the gear, with that knowledge that they have? With the little knowledge that we have about how this universe works, what did we do? For us to go into space, we created something, or we made something that will be able to let us breathe in this universe. But when the creator of this universe knows the ins and outs of this whole universe, does he really need to create something else for his messenger or his servant to breathe in space? Why? It's not necessary. We need to create something. Why? Because we don't know everything about the universe. We don't know everything about the universe. But when you read the advancements in quantum physics itself, you realize that even scientifically it's possible. What do I mean? There was an article I read in the May edition of the Daily Mail 2014, and it said that scientists in the Netherlands, they were able to transport atoms a distance of 3 meters. They were able to transport atoms a distance of 3 meters. Or they were able to teleport, they were able to teleport atoms 3 meters. Tell me, what would be harder? To make something travel the distance between point A and B, or to make something disappear in point A and make it reappear in point B? Wouldn't teleportation be harder? But if you and I are able to teleport atoms 3, 4, 5 meters, then why is it impossible for us to transport those same atoms at the speeds of light? It's not impossible. If you and I can manipulate the laws of physics and make an object appear in point B without it having to travel the distance, then tell me, why is it impossible for the one who himself says, Allamahu Shadidul Quwa, the one whom the Almighty has taught? Why is it impossible for this person to travel at the speed of light? So what does that leave? The Miraj was neither scientifically impossible, the Miraj was neither logically impossible. You can say, you know what, it's impractical. But we as Shia Muslims, what do we say? We say, look, these people, they're not like you and me. They look like you and me, but their reality is something different. But in terms of current science, when you read about what's happening in the advancements of science, Dr. Michio Kaku, he's a professor, a known physicist, a professor of physics, and he himself, he says, look, we were able to do this to an atom, but we are created from all of these atoms. Scientifically, there can come a point in time where we're able to teleport ourselves the same way that we teleported these atoms. So even scientifically, it's not impossible. So when I look at the youngsters, they have these questions, and this is one of the reasons I did this lecture, was because I was asked these questions. This is one of the reasons. I was in school here too, so I know all of this. But when you are asked these types of questions, you have to ask, you have to go and tell them, especially atheists. They'll come and they'll say, you know what, it's not possible. No, it's possible. You don't know what impossible means. That's why you think it's impossible. If you truly understood what impossibility meant, then you wouldn't say that, because scientifically, things are possible. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen. Salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Yeah, no problem. If you want questions, no problem.